Hello again to all my food warriors and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little while since we've posted some content, but we have been on the field literally every day. And so now with the holiday break coming up, we got a lot of content to catch up on. So knowing full well that we're about to enter into the holidays and we're going to be obviously indulging as the season would suggest, we're going to start things off with something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit healthier, you know, just something to kind of get our system in rhythm. And we're going to be poaching a beautiful side of salmon today. Went to my fishmonger, got this beautiful fillet of salmon. This will easily feed, if you were doing this as a starter, this would easily feed 8 people. Today we're going to feed, I'd say probably 6 portions out of this because it's going to be our main. And so we are going to poach this beautiful salmon. What we're going for today, very healthy dish on the lighter side, lots of vegetables. What we want is really clean, clean, bright flavors, but something again very, very healthy as we know we're going to be indulging over the next few days. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by cutting this up. We're going to get our tail piece kind of cut off separately, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to cut this into, I'd say, a good 5 or 6 pieces. Because this is a main dish, I want my portion size to be in and around 5 ounces. And so what we're going to do, that's a nice fillet. There we are, a nice cross section. This is completely boneless and skinless, and so we'll do something like this. There we are, a couple of bigger pieces, some smaller one for the kiddies, and then we've got this tail piece which we're going to cook separately. So I'm just going to take this and put it off to the side before we get kind of into our vegetables here. So now that our salmon is prepped, we've got our vegetables that we're going to take care of. We've got a leek here. This is a fairly large leek, and all I want to do is cut this up. As you can see, inside the leek here, you got some grit. Leeks are grown in sandy soil, and so we want to make sure that we get this guy cleaned up. We don't want any of that grit in our poaching liquid, and certainly not in our finished dish. So as we always do, we're just going to split the leek, and that way as we open this up, we see kind of where that sandiness is. So we're going to give this just a quick slice, and we're going to run this under some cold running water. So we're going to cut this again very, very thinly. There we are. So I'm going to take care of this guy, throw him into our colander. I will see you in about 30 seconds. All right, we are back. We've got our leeks beautifully rinsed, beautifully washed, and ready to go. The reason why I like leeks for this instead of onions, they're a little bit milder in flavor, and they really pair well with mild things like seafood. And certainly with the salmon, they're going to pair beautifully. They bring a little bit more sweetness, but they do provide some of that onion quality as well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to prep the rest of our veg. I have here a beautiful carrot. This is one of the ones with a reddish hue, very, very sweet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of top and tail these guys. And what we're going to do is we're just going to deal with these with a vegetable peeler and make these beautiful long ribbons. So I've washed this carrot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to peel this, and this way we're going to get these beautiful ribbons in our dish. Because these are thin, they're going to cook very quickly. There we are. And we're just going to rotate this guy around. Make sure we get, there we are, all these beautiful carrot ribbons. So now we're going to have contrasting flavors, contrasting textures, contrasting colors, and that's what makes food interesting. So once we get down to the core there, we just turn it around on a different side. And again, we just make these ribbons. Kids love these. And like I said, they cook quickly and they add not just a good bit of nutrition, but an interesting texture to our dish as well. So we're gonna go with our last side here. And go literally right down to the core. And I'll just snack on this while I'm cooking here. There we are. We've got our beautiful carrot ribbons. Just put these guys off to the side. We've got some garlic scapes. This is just the green extension of the garlic. And all we're going to do here is we're going to cut these up very, very fine. Again, we want to bring the flavor of garlic to the party, but we don't want anything too aggressive. And so we're going to be using two different kinds of garlic today. I've got some roasted garlic that I'm going to be using, and I've got these garlic scapes. They're very, very mild, but they do bring a bit of that garlic flavor to the party. So we're just going to cut these up very, very thin. Again, we want all of this to cook very quickly in our poaching liquid. There we go. We're also going to be adding here our ever-present chili pepper, and we've got some beautiful cherry tomatoes that we're going to be throwing in there as well. Beautifully sweet, literally like candy. So we'll continue to get these guys cut up, and they're beautifully fragrant. They don't have that same kind of aggressive garlic flavor, that heat that you get with cloves of garlic. It's a different part of the plant altogether. And so there we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start to get everything in our pan. We're going to start off with a little bit of oil. This is a cold pan, no heat at the moment. Just get a little bit of olive oil in there. There we are. And now we're going to get our leeks right into our pan. And once we have all of our vegetables in there, we're just going to saute these guys off over medium heat, just to wilt them down, just to sweat them down, start to get some of the liquid coming out. And that liquid is really what's going to flavor, in large part, our poaching liquid as well. So there we are. We have a bed of our leeks. We'll get our carrot ribbons in there as well. We've got our garlic scapes. And if you can't find garlic scapes, it's not a problem at all. You know, one medium-sized clove of garlic, minced fairly fine, is what you want. No more than that. Fish is delicate, and we're not looking to get in there with a ton of aggressive garlic flavor. We want to make sure that everything is in balance. There we are. All right. So now we'll get our chili pepper going here as well. We'll just get this guy seeded out. The seeds are usually towards the top of the chili, and so what we want to do is just remove the seeds and that membrane that the seeds are attached to. Really, that's where the aggressive heat is. The flesh of the pepper has a lot of really interesting flavors. In some cases they're fruity, and so that's what you want in our dish without that aggressive heat. This is seafood, and so it doesn't need to be aggressively spicy, but we do want a little bit of heat in there, just again, for that sense of balance. There we are. So we'll get our chili in there as well. There we are. A couple of guys escaped here. Everybody in the pool. All right. So now that we've got this going, we're just going to get a little bit of salt and pepper in there. Again, cold pan. We just want to bring some of the liquid, there we are, out of our vegetables. So what we're also going to do before we get going is get our roasted garlic in there. So this roasted garlic, I did a tray of roasted Brussels sprouts earlier this week, and I throw whole garlic cloves in the paper in there to roast with the vegetables. And they flavor the vegetables, they flavor the oil, and then what you get is this beautifully soft roasted garlic. It's sweet, it's lost all of its aggressive heat, and what we want, if we're going to use garlic in this application, is something delicate, and so we're going to use roasted garlic. All we can do with this, now that it's soft, is basically just squash it against the board. We can give it a quick chop, run our knife through in case any of the edges have caramelized during roasting, but this will basically melt into our poaching liquid. We won't have any big chunks of garlic in there. So we're just going to scrape this right off. There we are. And off we go. So I'm just going to wash down, clean up my board, And then I will see you in about 30 seconds when we're going to get this guy on the heat. All right, we are back. I've just put the heat on our burner here, and we're going to give this a couple of minutes to heat up. We don't really want any color on this. We just want the vegetables to sweat down, and we want some of the liquid to start coming out of the vegetables. That will flavor our poaching liquid. So we've got a couple of other ingredients to add to this at the appropriate time. Once these have sweated down, we're going to be adding some beautiful cherry tomatoes into this. We've got some white wine, and we've got a little bit of cream. And then we're going to get our salmon in there, poach it off. Poaching is really cooking in a moist medium. So what we're doing is we're not pan searing this to get that seared crust that we typically get. If you're a fan of the channel and you've seen our pan seared salmon, which is a beautiful application in and of itself, we're not looking for that here. What we're looking to do is really cook this at a moist medium, keep it moist, keep it beautifully flaky, beautifully tender, beautifully juicy. And that's it's a very forgiving method to cook when we're poaching. Even if we overcook things a little bit because of the moisture inherent in the cooking method, your food's not going to dry out. So we're just going to give this just a quick stir. We're going to let the salt and pepper do its thing. And there we are. We're going to let this go for about 7 or 8 minutes until these vegetables have started to cook down. So I will see you in about 7 or 8 minutes time. All right, we are back. It's been about 7 or 8 minutes, and all of our vegetables have started to sweat down and release some of their moisture into the pan. Exactly what we want. And so we're going to continue on. We've got a pint of these beautiful little cherry tomatoes. I'm just going to throw these guys in. Beautifully sweet. And as they cook down, they will pop and release their liquid into our poaching liquid rather. So all I've done is I've given those a quick wash. I've got some dry thyme. All I'm going to do is just put a little pinch of dry thyme in here as well. You know, if we're measuring this out, this is probably about maybe a teaspoon or so of dry thyme. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get our white wine. This is about 6 ounces of a good white wine. This is a Pinot Grigio. We're just going to add that in there. It's going to bring a good bit of acidity, a little bit of brightness, as well as all of that fruitiness from the wine into our poaching liquid. And I've got here some 35% cream as well. It's the holidays. So otherwise, very, very healthy dish. Splurge. This is all about consistency and mouthfeel. And so we're going to add in, let's say the whole thing. We're going to go with, this is about 500 mils of heavy cream. There we are. If you wanted to add less and put a little bit of a fish stock or a vegetable stock, you could do that as well. Coach Joe's house, we're not running a spa. This is all about getting as much flavor into this as possible and having that luxurious mouthfeel, which only heavy cream can provide. So there we are. So we're going to bring this back up to temperature. In the meantime, we're going to prepare our salmon. Now, our salmon doesn't need much. All we're going to do is season this guy with a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's it. So I've got a little bit of kosher salt here. And we're just going to give this a light seasoning from a height. We want to make sure that the salt disperses all over the salmon and we don't get these big deposits of salt, which will kind of ruin the experience. There we are. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just pat this in very lightly. We want our seasoning to stick to our fish, and we're just going to flip these guys over. There we are. Just flip these guys over and put it back there with seasoning on the opposite side. Again, I've got one hand that I'm handling my fish with and one hand that I'm handling my seasoning with. This way we avoid cross-contamination and we don't have any issues with that. There we are. So again, we're just going to tap this in. Now that we've got some temperature in our pan, we are going to put our salmon in. There we are. This is beautifully boneless and skinless. So we're just going to tuck this right in there. There we are. sure we have the space that we need to get all of this cooked. There we are. You know what? We do have space for our tail here as well. And so I'm going to season our tail. I'm just going to cook our tail piece separately, but since we have space in our pan, and this guy will cook quicker than the others, we'll just give him a quick seasoning here as well. There we are. And we'll just mop up everything else on the board here. Boom, and done. There we are. So now we're going to cover this. I don't have a lid big enough for this pan, so we're going to get a little bit creative here. I have another pan of this size. I could put this upside down, but given the clumsiness rather of the folks that live in this house, someone's going to knock it over. Looking at you, Nona. We've got a pizza pan here that fits the top of the pan perfectly. Boom. And now we will just let this go for about 10 minutes time. So we're just going to lower the heat right down to medium, and we are going to let this bubble away. That moist environment will cook the salmon no more than 10 minutes time, and then we will be back to finish up our sauce. So I will see you in 10. All right, we are back. It's been about 10 minutes. We're going to give this a look. So just give this a quick gander, grab some tongs here. This will be hot. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, absolutely beautiful. We're not quite there yet. We're just gonna move this around a tiny bit. Make sure that we've got all of our pieces of salmon here submerged. There we are. I like that. We're just going to give this a couple more minutes. So I will see you in 2. All right, we are back. Our fish has been in for about 12 minutes. It should be beautifully cooked. So we're just going to take our lid off. We can see this is still bubbling here. Now what we're going to do is we are very carefully with our fish spatula going to just move these guys onto a dish. Oh, they're so beautifully flaky. There we are. Look at that. Just came right apart. Could barely hold together. That's exactly what we're looking for. Beautifully flaky fish. Beautifully moist. Fantastic. There we are. So we'll help this off. There we are. This guy as well. Oh, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. This guy here. There we are. And what we'll do, we've got 2 more here. Oh, look at that. Oh, that tail piece is going to come off. That's okay. We'll come back and fish him out in a second. There we are. And we have our last piece here. There we are. You know what? I'm going to put this guy right up here on our serving dish. There we are. We'll just bring him down here. I will take these guys and move them to the side for a second. And now all we're going to do is we're just going to finish up our sauce here. So our poaching liquid is starting to thicken, which is exactly what we want. And all we're going to do is we are going to add one final item in here. We've got some beautiful baby organic spinach. We're just going to add a couple of handfuls in here as well. Just, again, to increase the vegetable content of this dish. And all we want to do is wilt this spinach down in this hot liquid, which will not take long at all. At this point, we're going to raise the heat, and we are just going to let this go completely uncovered. Our spinach will wilt down, our sauce will tighten up, we will taste for seasoning, and we're done. So literally, we are 60 seconds from heading to the table. I will see you in a minute's time. All right, we are back. Spinach is wilted down. Look at the symphony of colors in this pan. Colors, nutrition, vitamins, minerals. Yes, a little bit of cream. Don't judge me. All right. I'm going to give this a quick taste. I think it's going to need a little bit of salt because with the cream, it's muted those flavors. And so we want to make sure that we just adjust it right at the end. That is good. That is very good. We're just going to need a tiny bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And we are done. Done. So what we're going to do now is just give this just a quick stir. We've got some of these cherry tomatoes now just starting to burst. And now their flavoring is added to the sauce, to our poaching liquid as well. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. We're going to take some of this and just drape it right over our salmon. Just like that. A little bit of the sauce as well. Boom. There we are. Now this, I can tell you, for the parents at least, not for my players, glass of wine, nice piece of crusty bread, fantastic. Players omit the wine, but you know what? Oh, we don't even need a knife. This is so tender and so moist. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Just beautiful. That is so beautifully delicate, and it just melts in your mouth. Absolutely fantastic. We're gonna get the family to sit down for lunch. Like I said, I do hope you try this. Beautifully healthy. Even if you wanted to cut back on some of the cream, put a little bit of broth, do try this recipe. This is absolutely stellar. As always, do like and subscribe. Do share the content if you find it useful, as that is what this community is all about. This is Coach Joe saying I will see you on the next one.